Hello there, the internet. We are back now officially for the 2023 NASCAR season. This podcast is coming out a little bit later. There is a bye week in between the Clash and Daytona, so we kind of decided to kind of split down the middle and do a nice little recap of the Clash and a fun little preview of Daytona. But when the season actually starts up, we should be getting these out a little bit sooner than the big delay that we're having now. But so yeah, we were in LA for the Clash, and it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. Minus the cautions, but it was still a pretty good race, pretty good event.
LA traffic, because of how early we had to get places and because of how late we left, we really didn't have to deal with traffic that much. We weren't that far from the track either, and so we got pretty lucky this weekend in terms of traffic as well.
Yeah, I would say so too. I mean, traffic wasn't too bad in the mornings because we usually left like around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And then even then, like I think Friday when we left like at 9 or 10, traffic wasn't that bad. But I mean, like you said, for the most part, we had to get there early, and then even like when we were done, we were there like a couple hours after, and most of the traffic's pretty much gone by that time. So it kind of worked out.
Yeah, the worst day we had was Friday when we left the track because we left at like, what was it, like 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that, and we hit rush hour traffic. We were trying to go to downtown Disney, and that was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. But I mean, it's kind of expected because it was a Friday night, and I mean that's just typical LA traffic too. So,
Yeah.
But overall, I loved the trip. It was fun. I hope they do it next year. Excuse me, sorry. I hope they do it next year. Yeah. I love the whole event. The whole thing was just like really fun, exciting, very enthusiastic. I love the concerts that they had. Just everything in general is just completely different to what NASCAR fans are usually used to, and it was more towards like attracting a newer crowd. With having Wiz Khalifa during the halftime concert, having a DJ during the caution flags. Just all of that was it was different, but it was fun. I mean, it's my second time going, but I always love like seeing different things from NASCAR compared to just like their, typical like, pre-race concert and then just go straight in the race. This was just like a whole different venue. Like, you got fans involved. Like I think it was you or somebody said that, they had like a ramen noodle eating contest during one of the caution flags, or I think halfway through the stage, or something like that. It's just like something funny, but kind of, something to get the fans like entertained by besides the race. So it was cool. I had a lot of fun. Just seeing like different kinds of fans being at the racetrack with, your typical NASCAR fans, and you got people there for the first time. They seem to enjoy it, which is good because, anytime you want somebody to come to a race, you always want them to, enjoy being there instead of just being like, oh, well, it was just a boring race, just watching cars go around. And even like during like the race, like, people were getting into it. Like people were just like cheering whenever a driver like was like bumped out of the way, or like there was a lead change. Like, fans were getting into it. Like the whole stadium was just like cheering, which was crazy. So I truly enjoy this race. I really hope they do bring it back next year.
Oh, yeah, because just to kind of build off what you said, the fans really, that was something I was shocked about, because this was my first Clash going down there, and just how the fans got involved with it was great, because it's like every time there was a pass for the lead or a fight for the lead, like you could feel the tension in the stadium kind of get up, and then when that pass was made, or that bump and run was made, they would just like cheer. It didn't matter who it was, like they were cheering. It was the same thing during driver intros. It's like you could tell where we were because certain drivers got like huge applause. And AJ Allmendinger being from California, when they introduced AJ, that the crowd was saying when they heard that he was from California, they were like, a hometown driver. And then Daniel Suarez coming out with that sombrero that he usually wears for driver intros. They saw him walk out the sombrero, and you could tell a whole section of the stadium went insane. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
And then even just during the race, just people were just losing their minds during a lot of passing, a lot of action stuff. So that's the kind of stuff you don't see on TV, which I really appreciates. But the Clash definitely is a race that you have to go in person, and that kind of leads me to segue into something really quick when it comes back to the TV coverage that we know we couldn't get away without covering the TV coverage. So I kind of wanted to get it out of the way early, just so I could get my bitching over with. But I saw on Twitter a lot of people upset with TV coverage. I went back and I watched bits and pieces of it, both the NASCAR upload and a couple other reactors on YouTube, and I just think Fox really needs to do a better job at making the hype match what's happening on the track, because at the track it was great, but on TV you couldn't tell. Like, the TV did not do the race justice at all, and I think that's just it's gonna hurt viewership going into Daytona, because there are people who couldn't go to the Clash, who probably wanted to, tuned in on TV, and then just got a terrible experience trying to watch it on TV. So that's probably gonna hurt their future of NASCAR. But even then, like, there's just I don't even know. I don't really have notes on the TV thing, but everything I've heard and things that I've saw, it's just like it looks like Fox is having a lot of the issues with the Clash that they were having last year, where they're just zooming in too much. They have crowd shots where crowd shots don't really make sense to have. A ton of commercials, just trying too hard to appease to an audience. It's just I just think, honestly, like I was telling you this in the car, I think we can get more eyes on the sport if we take care of the broadcasts. Like, the one thing I do love is that Race Hub was shot live at the track. I love that. I think we need to do that at every track, because that brings in a more intimate feel. It's more fan friendly than the green screen studios that we usually get. But that also reflects the booth as well. And I think when the booth tries too hard, it comes across as obvious. And then when the camera work isn't good or the direction is bad, it also comes across as painfully obvious, and it ruins the viewing experience. And so when you're watching a race and you can't tell what's happening because the cameras are all so zoomed in, or you're missing things because we're watching a crowd shot, it hurts how you're presenting the race. Yeah. So I just think we need to do a better job at that in terms of the race coverage, because the actual event in person is amazing. Like, if you're listening to this and you haven't been to the LA Clash, I would recommend going next year, because TV does not do it justice. It is actually a really fun event to go to.
Yeah, it's really fun. Actually, I mean, I went last year. As a fan perspective, it was just really fun just to see a different view of NASCAR. I mean, some people were complaining about the concerts and stuff like that, and I think it's just it's from an older generation.
I don't even think it's an older generation thing. I think it's more of your taste in music, but that kind of music, because I don't listen to rap a lot. I'm not really R&B rap kind of guy, and so I wasn't really into the concert that much, but that's the music that's popular right now. And if NASCAR wants to go to the more popular audience to kind of jump on, they got to jump on what's popular. Wiz Khalifa's popular now, so it made sense to sign him. Like, I wasn't thrilled about it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but like, I see why they did it. So I'm not really entirely sure that's an older audience thing. I think that's just whatever's popular.
Yeah, but it was a pretty cool event, I would say. Yeah, you should definitely go. As far as, like, as a fan perspective, you should at least try to go once a year, because I don't know if they're going to plan on bringing it back every year, but it would be a cool event to kind of go to just to see.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun thing to go to. So if you're planning on going to a NASCAR race but you don't want to commit to like one of the bigger races, definitely check out the Clash in LA, because it's a nice little compromise. It's not a long event. It's not something that you have to really do a ton of planning for, and it's just and if it's a fun time, even if you're not a huge racing fan, it's just fun to come out and have the experience. So if you're not, so like I'm saying, if you don't want to commit to like the big scary NASCAR races, come to the Clash. It's a nice compromise.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's different, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
So now, with the Clash itself, NASCAR did something new this year. They were testing out mufflers, which I personally don't have a huge problem with. But that led to an issue with Ty Gibbs, because as far as I'm concerned, with the research that I did and what I've read, it looks like the fire was caused because the team put the muffler in wrong. Is that right?
I believe so. I mean,
okay,
he's the only one I've seen have that issue. So, I mean, I don't want to necessarily say the muffler caused a fire. It just could have been like, it might have not properly been installed and might have caused that fire.
Yeah, because that's what I was leading towards. Like he's the only one who had that problem, and but that also opens the door. If we do the mufflers at other tracks, that's now another thing for the teams really got to keep an eye on because I we think NASCAR fixed the door foam issue. We're obviously only one race in, so we don't know for sure. But I'm hoping they fix the door foam issue because now teams have to worry about the muffler and installing that because from the sound of it, it looks like you have to take exhaust pieces out, and I think that's what caused the fire. Was they were saying that when they put it all back together, some of it came loose, and that's what heat up the door foam and caused the fire. At least that's what I read, and that's what I saw, according to Mr. Bob Potgrass, was that just some things were installed, and they came installed wrong, and it came loose. So hopefully that's something teams will get better at the more they do it. I think it's just a practice makes perfect kind of a thing. It's unfortunate that it led to a scary fire for Ty Gibbs. Glad he's okay, but yeah. I think that's gonna be something else for the teams now to have to learn with this new car.
Yeah, and I think it'll be like a quick fix because I mean they've already had issues with fires inside the cockpit, so I'm sure it's something that they're taking seriously and not nipping in the butt.
Yeah, because if it's an installation problem, then I think it is just to live and learn. But I would like to say NASCAR tested it before they gave it to the teams to make sure, but at the same time, you can't really know what's going to happen until you put it in an actual race. And unfortunately, it looks like the Joe Gibbs team just didn't put it together correctly.
Well, they did have one test at Phoenix, but I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that was it, the test at Phoenix, which is when we learned about it. I don't even think it was public until the Phoenix test, which was like the week before, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay. Going into the actual race format, I do like the heats and the LCQs and stuff. I have one problem with the heats and the LCQs, and I kind of want to hear your opinion on it. I think they need to be flipped in length. Like this year, the heat races were 25 laps, and the LCQ was 50. I feel like that's backwards. I feel like if you're going to do that, I feel like the heat races should be 50 laps each, and then the last chance qualifiers should be 25. I think that's just my opinion on that. How do you feel about that?
The format?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem that big of a deal. I feel like maybe shorten it by a little bit. Like maybe do 30 laps, 35 laps for the last chance qualifier. Because I feel like the first one it's good. Sorry, it's good enough. Like where it's at, 25 laps. That's it. Last chance qualifier. I feel like it's good to make it a little bit longer just to kind of give everybody a chance. Because I feel like 25 laps can go pretty quickly.
See, that's why I'm saying it's backwards is the thing. Because I feel like the actual heat race, you should have a chance to put your car in the show. Which is why if you're going to do 25 and 50 laps, I feel like the heat race should be 50 to give everybody a chance to kind of get up there and fight to get in. And then the last chance, it's your last chance. You need to put the hot seat under him. So I feel like 25 for the LCQ is good because then that puts the sense of urgency under the teams who want to try to make the show. I feel like 50 laps is way too long for an LCQ.
And I don't know. I feel like it kind of puts a lot of effect into, qualifying well. If you make it short, it's like it makes that much important to qualify well, because if you qualify, let's say, almost dead last in your heat race, then, it kind of puts you in the bubble, makes you like work a little bit harder. But you still have that chance to make it in the LCQ, which I feel like it's. I mean, maybe make it like 35 laps, maybe 15 laps shorter. Don't make it like 50 laps, but
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's worth a shot too. Because that's actually, funny enough, that's the conversation I had with anybody listening to this. I'm pretty sure you guys know who Eric Estep is. He was at the Clash. I happened to accidentally just bump into him. So I was heading. Okay, here's some more background context. Actually, the way the Coliseum is set up, we're not special reporters, so we don't get to be up in the actual press box. We were just there for photography for the podium finish, and so we had to be down in the locker rooms under the stadium. So we were pretty much down in what I called the photo dungeon. And to get there, you kind of had to go out through the grandstands and around out one of the gates and down under the little ramp thing. So it was kind of a hike to get there, but there was a point in time where I was heading back to the photo dungeon after, I think it was right after the LCQs, the last one finished. and I bumped into Eric a step, and I was just kind of talking to him about it because we were both walking the same direction, and so that's kind of where I brought that up. I was like, I just feel like, for me personally, I feel like it's backwards, and he and I kind of had a very, very quick conversation about our thoughts on that, and as far as we kind of came to a small agreement where he's like, if you're gonna make it 25 and 50, then I feel like we need to flip flop them. But also, very nice guy, Eric Estep. Met him a handful of times at this point. Very, very lovely human being. Tall as hell, but very lovely.
Very tall. Very tall.
Another thing that was brought up a lot during the weekend, not only by fans but drivers as well, is the fact that they thought there were too many cars on the track.
Yeah, it's too much. I mean, when I kind of heard that they were gonna add 4 more cars to the grid, I thought that was a little bit much. Last year, I would say it was a good amount. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that, you had like 4 or 5 cars out early in the race that year because of mechanical issues. So it didn't make it seem that bad. So I think I've heard from somebody, I can't forget which driver it was, but they said that let's just kind of go back into making it a pole winning or driver winning shootout.
I'm pretty sure that was Hamlin.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it was on his podcast.
Yeah. I think Denny Hamlin was the one who came out and said it should go back to just being the previous year's pole winners.
Yeah, because it just seems like you're forcing a lot of these teams just to be there that I wouldn't say don't deserve to be there, but it kind of it the whole event is just mainly was supposed to be for drivers who've won the pole and who've won a race. And I feel like if you just throw drivers that have never won a pole or have never won a race, it kind of defeats the purpose of the event. I mean, I get it; it's a fun event. Don't get me wrong, just having all these drivers there, but it's kind of sad to see how you have Chris Buescher who won a race last year did not make the event at all, and even like Brad Keselowski who. He won the not Busch Clash. It was the Duels last year.
He won his dual race last year, yeah.
And he didn't even make the race either. So it's kind of sad to see stuff like that. And then I hate to say it, but there's some teams that were out there that really did not want to be there at all. I feel like they were just there to kind of do it, collect the paycheck, and then get out. So it's kind of sad to see teams like that because it makes you think that it's obvious that they don't want to be there. So it's just a matter of, why show up, for an event that you don't want to do. So I think you should just kind of go back into the old format. Maybe like 16, 17 cars or 18 cars. It would be a pretty decent spot. Because that track is so small. And you can only, even during like the caution flags, like the pace car had to stop like numerous times just because that they couldn't. They kept catching the rear of the field, so it's
they kept accordioning up the field.
Yeah, and it's like you have stuff like that, and it's like imagine if you put the whole field on there. It's not gonna happen. It's just gonna be total chaos. It's just gonna be bumper to bumper, and you're gonna see guys just like wrecking each other just to pass. And it'll just be a total disaster.
That with only 28 cars on the track. Can't even, God, yeah, because if I'm remembering right, I think every charter team was invited. So anyone who had a charter could come, but only 28 of them could actually make the race, and it was a mess with 28 cars on the track.
Yeah, no, it's too small of a track, so it'll be nice just to kind of go back into the old format.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too, because it's like Denny Hamlin said, it kind of loses the prestige when everybody is invited. And I think Joey Logano said that too, where it's like if you're handing out an invite to everybody, it kind of loses the prestige of the event of being an invite only kind of thing. It's like in order to get invited to the dance, you have to do well in the previous year. And so I'm in agreement on that, where I think we definitely need to go back to previous year's pole winners, because there's just too much happening at once, and it really became obvious in the second half of the race that it was just unraveling, because at that point you're just it's not a long race, but when you're just constantly in the dryer like that, it feels longer than it is. I'm pretty sure for my driver too, and so I think by the second half of the race, everybody was just kind of over it, and that's why the race just started unraveling. They were all starting to lose patience. They just wanted it to be done, but there was just not enough room on the track for anything.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I see it. It's just too crazy.
God, have you seen any of the in-car footage of the race?
I've seen glances of it. Not a whole lot. I haven't really watched a lot of the recap of the race. I mean, I've probably seen a couple things off of Twitter, but not a whole lot. I think I remember seeing like on the video, what do you call it, the video that they had up on the stadium. They had onboard video of like Ty Gibbs during practice, but I think that's the only time I actually seen like onboard video.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because another reason I kind of want to reduce the field is another reason that the drivers brought up in the post race meetings and stuff, and even just like in general, they were saying that they couldn't go a lap without just being absolutely slammed because it's the only way you could get anywhere was. And sometimes I think Denny Hamlin also said this. You didn't even know who was hitting who, because it would just accordion up. You would get hit by the guy behind you, but it might not even been that guy's fault. That guy might have been getting pushed by two other cars behind him because there was just nowhere to go anywhere. And when you take 28 cars and you start to everybody's braking into the same corner, it's going to accordion up because that's just how general physics work. And then when there's too many people going in for the same spot, they bounce off each other, and it's just the good old domino effect where one guy hits one guy, they bounce off the other guy, then the car 2 rows up gets spun for something that somebody did 4 rows back.
I think even during the heat race, like it was Harrison Burton, and people were saying, "Oh, Noah Gragson got into Harrison Burton," but if you look at the replay, he got hit from behind by Ross Chastain, and then Ross Chastain got hit from behind by Joey Logano. So it's like you said, it's accordion effect. It's like nobody knows who to blame. It's like, I think what's funny is like I remember watching like a small clip, and they're like, "Well, who do you blame?" And he's like, "Well, just blame all of them." It's like, it's like you have such a large like amount of, it's like, it's not like one guy hitting you. You have like 4 or 5 guys hitting you. It's just like, at that point you're just like, well, who do I get mad at? And I remember, I think Denny was talking to William, and he was like, "Why'd you hit me?" And he's like, "No, it wasn't me." He's like, "I got hit from behind." He's like, "I was getting shoved from somebody else." And he's like, "Oh."
Yeah, he was getting pushed by Harvick.
Yeah, it's like Harvick was mad at Byron, so then he pushes Byron, and then Hamlin thinks, Byron's mad at him, and it's just like a whole, accordion effect. It's just like everybody just kind of leaves like confused. They're just like, okay, whatever. Like, it's not like a typical Martinsville race where like, you can pinpoint on who did what. It's like, because it's obvious, if you go to a small track where it's just like barely enough room to kind of race, you're gonna get that type of stuff.
Yeah. So this is something that wasn't shown on the broadcast that I want to bring up while we're on the topic of this too. You saw a glimpse of it at the end of the broadcast, but they mainly focused on Truex winning. But something that didn't make TV was the Hamlin-Byron scenario. You saw the first part of it on TV, but they didn't show the end of it. After the checkered flag flew, what I had noticed from replays and just watching it happen with my own 2 eyeballs, Kevin Harvick went and just slammed into the back of Byron, and that's what shot Byron up the track, and that spun Hamlin around after the checkered flag. And so Hamlin went up and kind of doored the 24 a little bit, and then they came back around the track before they came into the infield. And what didn't make it on TV is that Hamlin turned dead right and like pinned the 24 up against the wall for a good like 10-15 seconds before speeding off and taking it to the infield. And that's when they got out of the car and had their little very confused mini confrontation. And I'm realizing there's no footage of that on TV and stuff. And I just thought that was funny, where you can see it, you can see them driving away, because when Truex comes back around and the camera pans up, you can see the 24 kind of driving away. And that was after that little confrontation on the track. But even they got out of the car and they were like, "Yeah, I was mad at him because I know he hit me, but somebody hit him to hit into me." It's just there's a lot going on at the same time. And even the drivers, they're mad at one guy for something somebody else did. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the whole accordion effect. So it's just like, who do you get mad at?
Everybody.
Everybody, pretty much.
It's everyone's fault, and everyone's guilty. Because that's actually how Blaney got turned around pretty early when Suarez and Elliott ran into him. That was like a 6-car stack up that just ended at Blaney. So with that discussion, there was something else. There was a big thing that came out this weekend too, where I don't know where this originated from. I actually didn't look into where it originated from. That's my fault. But somewhere during the race, it was brought up that NASCAR was thinking about making the Clash a points race because of the absence of Fontana next year. And boy, was that an unpopular opinion.
Yeah, nobody liked it.
Nobody liked it. Martin Truex laughed at them when they asked him that. Like, he sat there and laughed for a good second before saying no.
Yeah, I mean, it won't work. We saw how it turned out during the race, and it won't work with 36 cars.
Oh my god, yeah, because there's no way. Because that's what Joey Logano was saying too. It's like you can't even run with at that point less than 28 cars. So I think the 54 and the 43 were taken out with issues, and so there were probably 26 cars on the track, and the pace car was still hitting the back of the field. What are you going to do when you try to put 36 to 40 cars on the track? Like,
the red flag.
We can't even make a pace lap with 26 cars on the track. And that's what a lot of the drivers were saying is like we can't make it a points race because it wouldn't work. Like, you can't do live pit stops because there's no pit road, and the infield's not big enough to put 36 pit boxes down there. You'd have to exit the track to really do anything. It just wouldn't. There's no way a points race would work at the Coliseum. It's not built for that.
Yeah, it's no way. It's not built for that. Can't happen. So, like I said, it's perfect for how it is. There's no need to change it to a points race. Just leave it how it is. You don't need to, make it into a points race. Just make it its own special thing. That's the way it's supposed to be. Because if you try to make it into a points race, it's just gonna make it into a whole mess, and everybody's just gonna be upset.
Yeah. Like, I know they're concerned about there not being a Southern California race on the schedule, but like, they decided to tear down the Auto Club to rebuild it, and so they kind of have to deal with the consequences of that. And so if you want to redo the Auto Club, you're going to have to deal with probably not having a race in Southern California outside of the Clash for a year or two while they remodel the track. Like, that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, it's just, there's no way. It can't happen. There's too much going on, and yeah, no. It'll be a mess. Just leave it how it is. I mean, like I said, they wanted to tear it down. They wanted to reconfigure it. So that's just the sacrifice that we have to make.
Yeah, that's just how it is. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other tracks that we could go to. They're probably not in Southern California, but like, I can't think of any tracks that are NASCAR ready in Southern California. So there just won't be a market. But there's other tracks that we could fill the date with. Like, we can do the West Coast. We can probably even just throw Sonoma into the West Coast swing instead of, because we can't do Auto Club obviously, but we can do something like, hey, let's just start at Sonoma and then go from Sonoma to Vegas to Phoenix and work our way back to the West Coast. Like, I don't know why that wouldn't work. Or even throw Portland on. Even maybe take the Cup Series to Portland and do something like that. Maybe do Portland, Sonoma, Vegas, Phoenix, and head back east.
Yeah, I heard rumors about Irwindale, but Irwindale is just too small of a track. There's no like dedicated pit road for it, so it'll be really complicated just to do something like that. It's just not possible.
Oh yeah, I didn't see the Irwindale things, but yeah, no, it would be the same issues as the Coliseum.
Yeah, I heard it been tossed around a few times, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's not really possible.
Well, I think they'll figure it out. Either we just won't have a 3-race West Coast swing, or they might just push Sonoma up. I really don't know why Sonoma wouldn't work. I really feel like that would be fine too, to just come to just do Sonoma, Vegas, Phoenix, and head back east or something like that. Like, I feel like that's a pretty good solution if you want a 3-race West Coast swing. If you don't, then we'll just have a gap in the schedule, and that's fine too, because like you said, it's just the sacrifices we make if we want to redo the Auto Club.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, from what I was told, that they were going to have this track ready by next year. So I'm not too sure if something happened where they had, supply issues, or if it's like, the on demand was too much for them to get it done in such a short time.
Wasn't it supposed to be ready for this season?
Originally, yeah. So before COVID, it was supposed to be. So after the 2020 race, they were gonna tear it down and then have it ready by. No, wait. 2021 is supposed to be the last race.
Yeah, because I think that's what I remember reading.
Yeah, so 2021 is supposed to be the last race before they tear it down to a short track, and then they had a delay because of COVID. And then 2022, they said that they were going to tear it down after the 2023 race, and then it'll be back by 2024. But now they're saying that they can't do it because they're not going to get it done in time. So now they're pushing it to 2025. Okay. So I'm not too sure what happened there, why all of a sudden now it's extended by another year, but maybe there's something that they saw, or that they think it's going to take more time, but...
Yeah, I think it's just because the Auto Club is such a big track. I've never actually been to the Auto Club, but just knowing that it's a 2-mile speedway, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a bigger project than they think it's going to be because of how big the Auto Club actually is. I think that's what the holdup is. They were like, yeah, we can do it. And then they went and they looked at the track and went, oh, maybe we can't do that in this amount of time. So now we got to extend it.
Yeah, it's a bit... It kind of sucks to see without a West Coast race in Auto Club, but I mean, there's always options out there to go elsewhere.
Yeah,
I mean, who knows?
Pretty sure NASCAR figures something out. They got a year to figure it out.
I mean, maybe they'll do a double header at a track, but I doubt it.
That's true too. Double header in Vegas.
Double header Vegas, double header Phoenix. I don't know if Phoenix would be a good idea though. I feel like Vegas would probably be a better option, but. Maybe they can go... We might lose
our fall date then if they do a doubleheader.
Depending on how the North Wilkes-Barre race does, we'll see how that turns out. If it turns out well, I have a feeling that they'll probably use that as a replacement for Auto Club. Since Auto Club is like the very beginning of the West Coast swing, it's going to be a lot easier for teams just to kind of go there. And then once they're done, they can go straight to Vegas and Phoenix.
Okay, I can see that. I think I'd be down for points Wilkes-Barre race.
It just depends on how they do this All-Star race. The only thing I'm worried about is just the traffic. I've heard many people complain about it. And they said,
yeah, because there was somebody we know. Yeah, because there was somebody we know. I'm not going to drop names for privacy reasons, but there was somebody we know who we were talking to last year when the race was announced, and we asked him if he was going, and he said no, because the traffic's going to be a nightmare. He's like, I'm not going to sit in traffic for 3 hours for an hour and a half race. So
yeah, it's too much. It's I mean, it'll be a cool event to go to, but like you said, it's going to be total chaos just getting to that track. And I feel like there's going to be some Kentucky vibes when that opens.
Oh my god, I forgot about the Kentucky fiasco.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Because, I mean, like, before...
I hope you're wrong.
Before, there was a lot of fans that used to go to that track all the time. Like, I think in the 90s, like, when they used to race there, like, in the Winston Cup Series. I mean, I could be wrong. It could be, easy traffic, but, I mean, then again, there's been a lot of... The population has grown a lot since then. So, we'll just have to see.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes, but I would want to go to the All-Star race. I would be interested in doing that. I don't know if we are gonna go, but if the opportunity pops up, I might say ye just to have an excuse to go down to North Wilkes-Barre. But
and the problem
really
is that
where we are.
I mean, I feel like for the track people or the teams, it's easy for them because it's like it's in the same state. As far as like photographers or like people who don't live in North Carolina, it'll be a little bit of a nightmare. I mean, because not just like photographers, but people who are just traveling, out of state, that don't like live close by. That's true
with any event, though.
But like with that one, it's just like it's so weird because there's no like airports that are nearby. There's like, I think the closest airport's like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So you'll have to do some driving just to get down there. But I mean, it'll be a cool event to go to. It'll be really exciting just to see how it turns out. I mean, it's cool just to kind of go back in time of, you know.
Yeah, that's where I would be down to go, because it's like, I don't know how many more races are going to actually do it in North Wilkesboro. Like, this might be just a 1-year thing for all we know. Like, it might be, hey, we're doing the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, then we just never go back ever again. And so, like,
yeah, although I feel
that's
like
a possibility.
Because, like, that's a lot of money to kind of put into that track, too.
That's true, but at the same time, I guess it depends on how the event goes. Like, if it's a show, they won't go back. If it works, then they'll go back. But it really depends on how well the event actually does. So I'm hoping it goes well, because I would like to see even if we don't get a points paying race, just have the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro for a little while. That'd be pretty cool too. But there's a chance that it's not around for a long time, just because it is an older track. It is in a weird spot. So even though they're putting all the money into revamping it, that's not a promise to anything.
Yeah.
Do you like that they rotate the All-Star race around, that they've been doing that recently? Or would you like it to stay one place for a couple of years before moving it again?
I don't mind the rotation. I think it's kind of cool to see. It's kind of like, you know, an interesting thing to kind of go to somewhere different than what they're used to. I mean, the way I see it is kind of like, you know, baseball going to a different, like, stadium, or like the, what is it, like NHL. I think they go to a different venue for their All-Star games. But it's kind of cool just to kind of get a different track for the All-Star race. Because I think, you know, for the longest time, we've always done, you know, Charlotte. And then we went to Bristol for the first time. And then now we went to Texas. And then now we're going to North Wilkesboro. I think it'll be cool to kind of switch it up every other year.
Okay, so you're thinking every other year?
Yeah. I would say like maybe at least 2 years. At least, just to see.
Okay.
I think it'd be kind of cool to get a different track on there, just to kind of make it like a little bit more unique. Although I feel like that'll interfere with a lot of like the other tracks too, because like you saw with Texas where they got the All-Star race, but they lost one of their races. So instead of them being, you know, 2 races on the regular season, they have 1 regular season race and then just the All-Star race. It's not like, you know, they get two races in an All-Star race. So you kind of lose like that extra. I don't know. You're still getting a race, but you're not getting a regular points race, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think that also goes back to the little sacrifices thing, which I do like that idea, because actually that's what I was thinking too before you said it. Was I think 2 years is good, just to have it at a track for 2 years and then scooch it somewhere else. Kind of keep it fresh, keep it new. Even I like the idea. My brain turned off. The other reason I like that they're doing Wilkesboro, because that opens the idea to that the All-Star race doesn't even have to be run at like an official NASCAR venue. Like, we can run it at just random tracks, just for fun, because it's the All-Star race. It's supposed to be for fun.
Yeah.
And so where we probably won't get a points paying Wilkesboro race, we get the All-Star race. And I think we can really incorporate that to other things. It's like there are tracks that aren't on the schedule anymore that we could theoretically go back and run the All-Star race at. It's like a lot of people have been asking for Chicagoland to come back. It's like maybe even if we don't get a points paying race, we might get an All-Star race at Chicago. Like, it's possible, especially if we keep doing the rotation thing.
Yeah. And then they're also, I think they're planning on doing an event out there. I don't think it's like a whole track, but I think it's like a motocross event.
Yeah,
which is good, because you hate to see that track kind of just go down like that.
So I think it'd be fun. Just move it. Maybe after Wilkesboro, we take it to Chicagoland. Let's do that. We'll do 2 years in Wilkesboro, then we'll take it to Chicagoland for a couple of years and do the All-Star race there.
Yeah.
But I love the rotation idea. I think that's a good idea.
I think so too. It's kind of a unique style instead of just having the same old format, same old racetracks every year.
We'll see how it goes this year. I'm real excited for that. See how that goes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, but only time will tell. But hopefully they kind of go down that route.
Just like rotating the All-Star race, I've seen this floating around too. What if we rotated the Clash as well? I've seen that been brought up.
I think it depends on what kind of venue you want to do, because I feel like the Clash is just like, it's so It's special. It's like it's unique in its own way. Like, it'll be kind of weird just to kind of go from that and then just kind of go back to basics. So
Okay.
it depends. It depends on where they go, how they do it. If they do something where they go to like I'm gonna throw something like Bowman Gray Stadium, I think that'll be kind of cool, just to kind of see like a different perspective.
God, the way the weekend went, they might as well have been at Bowman Gray.
Yeah. No, I feel like it should be, if it's going to be something, it has to be something special. Like, you can't just, go back to Daytona. I feel like it has to be like a meaningful thing. Like, the Clash has its own thing. Like, you have like DJs, you have like all this other stuff. You have concerts, you have, excitement. Bowman Gray
do it
has
at the
its own
LVMS Bull Ring. Do it at the Las Vegas Bull Ring. I think that'd be funny.
Las Vegas Bull Ring. Oh my god, that would be terrible.
Somebody asked where else we would like to see the Clash, and I responded to it saying the LVMS Bull Ring. I was joking, but I'm surprised nobody yelled at me. So. I got no interactions on it, which honestly is probably for the best. Yeah. They made a wise decision just completely ignoring me.
I mean, I feel like they should do Bowman Gray would be kind of cool to see because it's like such a unique style racetrack, and it's known for like chaos, kind of like how the Clash is.
That's true.
So I mean, I wouldn't mind the Bowman Gray, but I like the LA Clash just because it's like, for me, it's close to home, and then also it has that unique style of racing, or not style racing, but event. Like, it's completely different to like any other NASCAR race. Like, if you try comparing that to, let's say, a race at Las Vegas, they're two completely different things. Because like you have your pre-race concert, but it's just like, it's just like your every other race. They do like the driver intros, all that stuff. They do like the opening ceremonies, and like you have your race and it's going on. This one, it's like, it's trying to get everybody pumped up. I mean, I'm not saying like, none of these races are not exciting, but it's definitely
meant excited for the season coming.
Yeah, it's meant to hype everybody up for the season.
Okay, good. I like that answer. That's a good answer, because part of the reason I was asking is I was also kind of in not the exact same boat, but a similar boat where I'm just like, I just like the vibe of the LA Clash, and I feel like just the market LA is in, it is good for that hypiness. And so and the more I thought about it too, like I thought about that question for a couple hours, and I was like, it to me, it doesn't really make a ton of sense to put the Clash anywhere else. I think LA works well because also if you look at the branding and when they write the Clash, the LA is in a different shading as the rest of it, so it's like the branding works perfectly. It's in a really cool market. It's something different that really gets the hype out. So it's like, for me, I feel like LA is a good home for the Clash.
Yeah, no, it is, because like it's good. It's a good market area, like what all the broadcasters say, and it's a good venue, and like everybody has a good time. And it's just like you're not just hitting regular NASCAR fans; you're hitting everybody. Like people who that might have seen it, like that live in California. They're like, oh, that looks like a fun event. Let's go buy tickets and go to that thing. And then they end up leaving. They have a good time. They're like, wow, that was actually really fun.
Yeah, my only gripe is that I just think we need to take the try hard pants off, because that's kind of what made the TV coverage suck. Is that we had the try hard pants on, and it made it real cringy. My other gripe is we also need to just figure out the format. Like I love the LA market. I think it's a good spot for the LA Clash. It's still new. It's still a very new event, so we have time to learn. But I think the Clash can be huge if we figure out the race format, if we hone in on something that works, and we take off the try-hard pants. Because the current format doesn't work very well, and the try-hardness of the TV booth kind of made it unwatchable. And so I feel like once we figure out a couple things, we're hitting something real solid.
Yeah, no, that's always been an issue, though. Like, it's been an issue since last year, so I mean, I hope they fix it soon.
I think I told you this in the car, where it's just like they're trying too hard. I think they just need to let themselves be themselves, and people who are interested will come. Because if you make it painfully obvious that you're trying to reach a specific demographic, you're just going to turn those people away, because they're going to look at you and they'll go, ew, he's trying way too hard. So
yeah. No, it's just, Yeah, if you're trying too hard, then you're gonna push them away, and that's not what you want for the sport. It's
Yeah.
you want to attract more people, and I think like I brought up to it's like if you want to bring more people in, that you need to kind of do it like how F1 does. They still do like their regular thing. They still do their commentating. They still cover the race how it's supposed to be. They're not doing anything extra. They're not trying to do different segments how they're trying to do. They're just keeping it simple, and I think that's how they should kind of keep it too. I mean, I'm always up for like new things, new challenges, but if you're trying too hard to like please them, then they're not gonna stick around for very long.
Yeah, I think honestly all comes back to really how NASCAR puts on the event and how the broadcast presents that event, because these two things go hand in hand. Because if the event itself is an absolute disaster, there's only so much the booth can do to save it before it becomes obvious that they're trying to play damage control. And it works same the other way. You can have a really good event. We can say NASCAR absolutely nailed the format, we nailed the racing, we nailed everything. We could have an incredible event. But if the booth is up there snoozing, or they're trying too hard, or they're missing things, that also taints the event on track. And that, again, doesn't really hit the audience. And so it's like, it very much is a 50-50 partnership thing. It's like the on-track product has to speak for itself, and the broadcasting booth has to be an echo of that and pretty much showcase it. And if the booth isn't showcasing what's on track, then the fans aren't getting a good picture. And if the on-track product isn't great, there's only so much the booth can do to play damage control, and then it just becomes a mess. And I feel like that's just something NASCAR has struggled with for a couple of years now, is that we'll nail the on-track product, but then the booth kind of drops the ball. Or it'll be the other way around, where the booth is actually doing pretty good, but the on-track product is kind of being weird. So we just got to find that middle ground. Once we find that middle ground, we'll be solid.
Yeah, I feel like it'll just take some time, but eventually we'll get there.
Yeah, because it's like I said this last year. I'm probably going to keep saying it until something happens, but if we just stop trying so hard, we won't have any problems. The biggest problem that we're having is that we're trying too hard.
Yeah, it's just like if you keep trying too hard, then you're going to chase everybody away.
Just let the drivers be themselves, let the commentators be the commentators. Pretty much just let the product speak for itself, because if the product can speak for itself, anyone who's interested will come buy it. But if you keep cramming it down people's throats and being cringy, then it's just going to make it so people look at us and make it a meme, and that's also not good for the sport. So.
No. You don't want to have people keep making memes about the sport.
I mean, memes are great, but it gets to a point where there's too many. Yeah, not when it taints it. I love memes, and memeing the sport is actually in a way good for it because the humor behind it. But when the event itself has become a meme, that's when there's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just like it has to be in a good way. But if it's coming back in the negative way where it's just like pretty much insulting the sport, then it's not a good look. Because then people are gonna look at us and be like, oh wow, it's just like just guys going around in circles. Yeah,
that's the stereotype we're trying to get away from, which is why also I love the Clash. Like, I love the halfway break with the concert. I love the over dramatic fireworks and the hype and all that. But the event, it's like I said earlier in the video. It's like you have to go in person. You have to be there because it's an incredible event to be there in person. But just on TV doesn't do it justice.
No, the TV doesn't do any justice at all. But I mean, if you have something like that, then it won't help at all. Because I mean, like you said, the venue was great. It was absolutely amazing. But if you have it where you have a great venue, but you don't have a great, broadcasting view of it, then it's not going to look well.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got, both from Twitter and from when I went back and watched some of the replays. It's just, that's just something. Like, and the reason I don't want to say I'm complaining. I am complaining, but I'm saying this because I care about the sport. I've been involved with it for a long time now, and I want to see it flourish. I want to see it grow again. But the only way we're going to get to grow and get to where we want to get is if we make some actual serious changes about how we present the sport. And markets like LA are perfect, but I think a lot of these changes need to come not from the broadcast booth, but from the way everything's presented. And that also comes back to just Race Hub and stuff. It's like, I like the NASCAR Race Hub. I like that we have a little NASCAR news show. However, I feel like even for pre-race stuff, I think it needs to be more fan interactive. And having the talent sitting in a green screen in a studio is not fan interactive. So
yeah,
I feel like once we get better at presenting the sport, we'll have a lot more luck with getting fans and gaining that audience back. But until we get better at presenting the sport, we're gonna stay stuck in this cycle of having numbers go up and down and up and down and up and down, because it's just we're not presenting it correctly.
Yeah, if you're not presenting it correctly, then you're not going to attract more fans.
Yeah, because I think we talked about this last year. This is something you brought up, where it's like we got to get that college game day feel back to it, where it's like everything is interactive and fan friendly and up in person, and we just don't have that anymore for NASCAR. And I think that's what's hurting it. Everything's shot on a green screen in a studio.
Yeah, no, everything's shot in a green. I mean, I think it was a lot different for the Clash because they had like that booth up right by turn 3 and 4.
Love that.
And it was amazing. It was great. But I wish they would do that for a lot of the tracks in the future.
You gotta do that for every track is the thing, because it's like you want to get you want your fans to feel like they're involved, because if your fans don't feel like they're involved, then they're going to go somewhere where they feel involved. And I think that's why football has always been number one, is because it's such an interactive sport. It's so fan friendly. Like everything football does is borderline based around fan interaction and stuff like that. Like everything, like I don't really follow football, so I could be wrong, but the impression I get for football and stuff like that is that it's very fan friendly in terms of the interactions in the pre games and the post games and stuff, because it's all mostly shot there. And usually the only stuff that's shot in the studio is like the midweek stuff, which I'm fine with the midweek stuff being shot in a studio because, you know, where else are you going to shoot it? But when it comes to race day coverage and actual weekend coverage, I think that needs to be done at the track, because then you can get the fans involved. You can do like the little giveaways and that's also good for sponsors and stuff, because if you're doing little giveaways and stuff, that's now also brand interaction. So you can do your pre-race show and you can do a giveaway during the show and you can present your different sponsors and your brands, and then more brands are going to want to be involved because they're going to be shown on TV more, and then the fans are involved. It's like you need to get that environment back into the pre-race and the post-race of NASCAR.
I don't know. I think they should start copying some of these, like, you know, other sports, but yeah.
So before we get too off the rails now, how about Daytona coming up next week?
Daytona?
Yeah, Daytona's coming up.
I feel like it's not as hyped up as it used to be. It's just kind of sad because, like...
just what I said. We're not presenting the sport correctly. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
It's like poetry, exactly. I mean, just like the whole weekend, like... Because before, you know, you had Daytona Speed Weeks. And it's like Sunday, like the week before the 500, you had qualifying. And it hyped everything up. Like, you know, you had your... It was broadcast in the morning. Like, they had... everybody qualified, they had practice, all that stuff. Like even today there would have been practice. Now it's like, you know, you have I think, was it Tuesday or Wednesday qualifying?
Yeah.
And then Thursday the
Wednesday's
duels.
No practice for the duels, by the way.
Well, they have practice, but it's Saturday. It's Friday and Saturday.
They have practice for the Daytona 500. There's no practice for the duel races.
Yeah, no. There's no practice at all for that. So it's
Which
just
I
like,
don't like.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, killing the sport. It's like, you know, it's just you're only having like maybe an hour session of practice.
I don't even think, are they getting an hour? I don't even think they're getting an hour.
Well, I think in total, like from the 2 sessions that they have. Okay. But that's it. There's no extra practice time. It's just like, you know, it's very short and simple. And it's just like, you know, I feel like it's not hyped as much. I think the only thing they're hyping up is just like the Daytona 500, and that's it. There's no like building up to it. Like there's no, oh, we got Daytona qualifying Sunday, and it's like now it's just like, oh, we got the 500 on Sunday, and that's it. You know, I
haven't even seen a ton of things for Jimmie Johnson. Like Jimmie Johnson's going to be running the 500. That's a big storyline.
Yeah.
And I don't see a lot of people outside of your normal reporters talking about it. Yeah. And even then, it's not a lot.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot.
We have Travis Pastrana in a cup car. Like that's also a big story. Yeah, like, why aren't we
you don't see anything
marketing
like
any
that.
of this?
You just see, like, you know, the Daytona 500, and that's it. And it's kind of like, you know, it's sad to see because I want to see more, like, what do you call it? Advertisement for it. it's supposed to be the biggest race of the year, and we're not. I feel like we're not advertising it as much as we used to. Because I remember like 2019 or 2020, they had the commercials like that hyped up all the way up to the 500. They have like they used to list like all the drivers like Denny Hamlin, he's coming back for more, like he's gonna go for three in a row at Daytona. You have Kyle Busch, the most people don't like him, but he's one of the greatest drivers. You have
one of the most likable villains in NASCAR.
Yeah. And it's like you have all these like big names, they say like Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, and it's like now I don't see that. I mean, maybe I'm just missing it, but you don't see that as much.
You really don't. And like it goes back to what I was literally just talking about less than 5 minutes ago. We're not presenting the sport the way we need to be, and that's why all the numbers are down. But my other problem right now is with the duels having no practice. I feel like the duels, you should have the same amount of practice as the 500, because we have teams and drivers coming down for Daytona that have never even sat in a NextGen car.
Yeah,
we have Jimmie Johnson, and Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie Johnson and Travis Pastrana have never driven a NextGen car.
Yeah, it's like
we're gonna put them in the middle of a pack with no practice and no knowledge of how this car works,
and that's not going to turn out well. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's not going to end well at all. Because like, I mean, if you have somebody who's inexperienced racing the next gen car, and then you're putting with a pack of other drivers, you're just bound. You're asking for issues. Like I can guarantee, like if he races on the duels, he's probably either gonna like try it and then he's gonna cause a big wreck, or he's just gonna stay in the back and he's gonna be like, I need practice in this thing, so I'm just gonna hang in the back for a little bit and then we'll just go up to the front later.
Or he's gonna do what Denny Hamlin did and shift wrong and blow the engine.
Hopefully he doesn't do that.
Hopefully he doesn't, but it's possible, because that's why we have practice, so these new drivers and these teams can learn how these changes work, because we see this every year where NASCAR will make off-season changes. Like there'll be new rules, there'll be new specs, there's new this and new that, and then you have young drivers coming in, new teams trying to make a debut, and it's just like, if you have no practice, you're asking for something stupid to happen. It's like best case scenario, Jimmie Johnson doesn't make the 500 because he just didn't know how the car worked and couldn't get up in the pack enough. Worst case scenario, Jimmie Johnson doesn't make the 500 because he tried to make a move and wrecked the car because something didn't happen that he wasn't ready for.
Yeah, it's just a total disaster.
I don't like the no practice. Like, at least they're getting practice for the 500, but I have no clue why there's no practice for the duels when you absolutely need practice for the... Because at that point, if you're having practice for the 500, we already know who's in the race. It's like the field has already pretty much been set at that point. So it's like, we need practice so these drivers can have a chance, because they're going to come down with no practice or anything. And then a lot of these, especially the open teams who need to race their way in, a lot of these open teams are teams that don't race a full season. They don't have a full notebook like the full-time drivers. And drivers like Jimmie Johnson and Travis Pastrana have never even sat in a next-gen car. So they don't even have a notebook to go off of.
They're just winging it at this point. Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare, but we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I mean...
Hoping it's not a nightmare.
Here's to hoping.
Because there's, 7 open cars now at this point?
7, yeah.
With, and only 4 of them can make
Yeley.
It? Yeah, so 6 open cars?
If it happens.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, so for the people listening, this is being recorded on Sunday the 11th. And it looks like this morning J.J. Yeley made an announcement. But looking at this team, I don't trust any of this. I really don't.
It just seems like weird. I mean, there's no... I don't know how it's supposed to be built. Because, like, there's, like... When I look at the address, it literally just looks like a suite. Like a office suite for, like, a doctor's office or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just, like, it doesn't look like a shop.
It does say motorsports marketing. And so, like... They might just be a marketing firm, so that might be real. But, like, in terms of the actual race team and stuff, I'm going to wait and see how it goes. But my initial gut instinct doesn't trust anything about this team.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Because I don't know where they're getting the cars from. I don't know how all this is going to work out. Like, it's just, I mean, good for them, but I don't know how it's going to plan out.
Like, if it's a real, actual effort, then, like, this is great. Like, they're going to come down, they're going to make their attempt, but, like... Just looking at their, like, advertisement poster and stuff like that, I don't trust it. because this isn't a picture of a real car because it's the old Gen 6 model. It's got monster logos on it. All of the dates for the schedule are wrong. The paint scheme itself was literally ripped from Daniel Hemrick's old car from when he drove the 8. Like, initially, everything on here is a red flag.
Yeah, everything's a red flag because even the schedule's off. I think you already said that, but
yeah, every date on here is a Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then Charlotte's listed twice. My favorite is the 252nd of April. April 252 for Talladega.
They're going into the future. I mean, I don't know. It just seems weird. Like, if it's... I mean, we've seen teams like this before. But, I don't know. It seems like an odd thing. I mean, then again, we thought the same thing about NY Racing and then the Money Team. There wasn't a whole lot of announcement until, like, it came to, like, Daytona. So, I mean, we could be wrong. It could be that...
But at least I don't think NY and the Money Team had something this painfully wrong with their posters and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't want to count them out yet. I mean, it could be wrong. It could be, something that where they kind of pull out last minute. But I kind of thought the same thing about the Money Team last year. But now here they are coming back for a second year to run for the 500.
That's true. Yeah. I'm hoping it's a real effort, and they're just... But that's another thing. It's like they say they're a motorsports marketing thing, but if that's the case, this marketing thing is horrendous.
Yeah, they probably don't do a lot of motorsports coverage, but
they're motorsports marketing, Chris.
I know, but
it's literally in the name.
I mean, but if you look at their previous years that they've been involved, it was like 2018, 2019. So, I mean, they've probably been out of the game for a while, but I don't know.
I don't want to be skeptical, but at the same time, I'm going to be skeptical just because nothing here adds up. I don't like this. Like, I'm hoping it's a real effort and that this is just a terrible marketing thing that's happening right now. And maybe they just weren't ready. Maybe they were like, I'm hoping it's a scenario where this all came together last minute and then they just didn't have the marketing material ready in time for the announcement. That's what I'm hoping it is.
It could be.
I'm hoping it's just a PR fiasco and they just didn't have their shit together in time for Daytona. But what I'm seeing is a huge red flag.
No, definitely. I mean, it's just looks a little odd, but then again, it could be legitimate, so I don't want to count it out yet, but
I'm hoping, yeah. I'm just hoping it's just a PR nightmare where they just didn't have anything ready. But
yeah, I mean, I
guess only time will tell. We'll find out in a week time. Less than a week, because qualifying is Wednesday. We'll find out in about 3 days. We'll find out in the next 3 days.
Yeah, we'll find out if they pull up for the Holler Parade.
I don't know when this podcast episode is going to come out. I still need to edit it. So this will come out it's Sunday right now. So this will come out either Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, at the time of recording, we'll find out in a couple of days, though, what's going on with the Finish Line Motorsports marketing team, whatever it's going on over there.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll see.
How do you think, assuming he makes the race, how do you think Jimmie Johnson's going to do?
It's going to be hard to tell. I don't know if it's Daytona, but then again, he has no experience with this car. Very few, actually, but I feel like he won't struggle that much. I mean, it's not like completely he's looking at alien technology, but
that's true.
He's had some practice with the next gen car at Phoenix, so he kind of knows a little bit about the car. I feel like he'll still do pretty well. I feel like he won't struggle as much. I feel like he'll still be good enough to lock into the show, but then again, anything can happen. So I'm saying that he can lock in, but it could be during the duels, with 10 to go, he could be involved in a wreck that takes him out. I think he as far as him competing against other drivers, I feel like he'll be fine. I feel like he has a good shot to kind of compete with these other guys, but it might be a little bit challenging because these guys have a bigger advantage against him because they've been with this car longer than he has. It's not like where we still have the old Gen 6 car, the car that he's familiar with running with so many races. He's going to a completely new car, but then again, it's plate racing too, so it could be similar. It could be different than what he's used to.
I mean, he's never been the biggest fan of plate racing. He's been pretty open about that.
Yeah, but I think he'll be fine. I don't think he'll be, in the lead like numerous times during the 500, but I think he'll kind of just hang around for a little bit.
Yeah, because the vibe I'm getting, because I'm looking at the open cars now, I don't think he'll have too much of a problem making the show, just because, for reasons you already stated, he has a little bit of experience with the car, and he's also a veteran race car driver, so I don't think he'll have issues making the show. He's smart enough to kind of know where he needs to be, because he's run enough of these dual races to kind of know how you have to run them. But I think when the 500 starts, I don't see him like getting up in the mix all that much. I think it's going to be a very passive Daytona 500 for him. I think he's going to make the race, but I don't think he's going to be too like up in the mix with it.
Yeah, exactly what I think too.
So yeah, I guess we're on a similar page there. So I guess because this is our preview, who do you think is going to miss the show? Who do you have going home?
I gotta look at this. I gotta look at the list now. Let me see.
Okay, let me see, because there's 7 open cars, and I think only 4 of them make it. So 3 cars are going home.
There's 7 cars.
Yeah, an easy way to look at it is if you just go to Bob Pockrass's Twitter. He has the list of the open cars.
Okay.
So yeah, so the open cars are going to be the 13 is Chandler Smith, Zane Smith, so both Smiths. So Chandler and Zane Smith. I'm assuming that's Connor Daly in the 50. Austin Hill, Pastrana, Yeley, and Johnson.
I feel like JJ Yeley and it's so hard to tell. I have a feeling it's either going to be Yeley and Daly or Yeley and Hill.
Oh, okay. I'm more... Actually, hold on. Yeah, no, I'm more on the Yeley and Daly, I think, might be the ones that missed the show. Because actually last year, when you look at it, the money team barely made the show. I think they got in on like the last lap.
That's what
they almost didn't make it.
I didn't want to count. I had a feeling like, Daly was going to be pretty close. But then again, you have Yeley, which is pretty much like, I don't know, I hate to say it, but it's pretty much a guarantee.
Yeah. If that team shows up, they're guaranteed to pretty much go home. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm also going to be that guy and say that I just don't think they have enough experience.
And the thing is, like,
a fast enough car.
Looking at this list, you have Chandler Smith, who has colleague racing. Yeah, they have a huge backing, so I don't feel like they're going to struggle that much. Zane Smith, he's in a really good car. He's in a team where they've won the 500 before. Johnson,
won a handful of plate races.
Yeah, Johnson, he has a lot of teammates too. Not only just like with his team, but he's got Hendrick Motorsports, he's got RCR, because they're an RCR affiliate team. They have, Travis Pastrana. I feel like I don't know. It's so hard to tell because I feel like with most of these duels, it's like the beginnings are always like they spread out in like just like their own packs, just to stay safe. Yeah. I feel like Pastrana, if he can make it, if he gets like all of his team together, because it's a Toyota affiliate team, so all the Toyotas are going to try and work with him. So I think it just depends on how the duels turned out. If he gets like a ton of like Toyotas in that group, then he should be fine.
Okay, because here's my reasoning. Assuming the 80 of Yeley actually shows up, I'm going to say he and Daly go home. And that's just because, for similar reasons like what you said. With Chandler Smith, he's been racing NASCAR long enough. He's going to be new to the next-gen car, obviously, but he has enough plate racing experience, I feel like. And he's got a good team under him with Colleague. And Colleague's, as we all know, Colleague's Super Speedway program has been unmatched the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And so and Chandler Smith, I feel like, is a talented enough driver that I don't think he's going to have any issues making the show. Zane Smith, the exact same reason you said. He's going to be entered in a front row motorsports car. They have always been really good at these plate tracks. I don't think he's going to have an issue. Connor Daly, the reason I think Daly misses the show is because A, they barely made the show last year with Kaz Gralla, and B, Connor Daly being more of an open world racer, I just don't think he has enough experience. I don't think he has any experience at plate tracks. Has he raced at Daytona or Talladega before?
No, it's mainly just been road courses, even in the Xfinity series.
Yeah, so I just don't think he has the plate experience. I don't really think, especially with no practice, I don't think he's going to know when to go or when to put the car where he needs to put it. I just don't think he has the experience to know how to race these. Austin Hill, I think he makes the show just because Austin Hill loves to surprise people. He did really well in a lot of the things that he did. Pastrana, I think if Yeley shows up, he'll be fine. But I think if the 80 car doesn't actually show up, I think Pastrana does go home for the same reason as Connor Daly, where I just don't, with the lack of practice and the lack of experience. Like, Pastrana does have NASCAR experience. He's raced, I think, 2 full seasons and a handful of truck races. So I think if the 80 car shows up, I think Pastrana will make it. But if the 80 car doesn't show up, I think Pastrana goes home with Connor Daly. And I think Jimmie Johnson makes the show for reasons I've already stated. He's an inexperienced enough driver. He's raced many of 500s, won a couple of them. I even with the new car, I think he has enough experience as a driver to kind of learn it quick enough and then kind of know where he needs to put the car in the show.
Yeah, I feel like he'll be fine. Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence with Daly, but Yeley for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I'm back and forth between Daly and Pastrana. Like, I think Yeley's guaranteed to go home, but I think if Yeley shows up, they go home with Daly. If they don't show up, like I said, I think Pastrana and Daly go home.
But we'll see. I mean, anything could happen. It could be, it could be like engine issue with Chandler Smith. It could be a mechanical failure for Zane Smith. So
could be a crash. I don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know. But I mean, I'm just kind of going
off
of
pit stop too.
Yeah, I'm just going off of like their experiences, I guess, compared to everybody else's.
Assuming it's a clean race, which it probably won't be a clean race, which is, why it comes down to. This is why we watch. This is why we watch to find out.
Usually, like the duels have been pretty clean. I think there was like 1 year where I got like really dirty, but usually they're somewhat clean.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, I guess, being there at the right time.
I think whichever duel Chastain is in is going to be the clean one.
Yeah.
Because there's usually one clean duel race and a duel race that, has some weird stuff happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, but
that's been happening since the dawn of the duel races, so...
Yeah. And it kind of sucks for, like, these pole guys, too, because, like, usually you could just skip the duels if you won the pole. But now it's like you need to run these things just to get practice in, because practice is so limited. Because if you look at it like, oh, I got the pole for the 500, I'm not going to race the duels. I don't want to mess with my car. That's a good thing, but now it's like if you don't run that race, you have like 30...
You're not going to win the race because you're not going to know what your car's going to do.
Yeah, everybody else is going to have an advantage over you because they're going to know what their cars are like in the draft. They're going to know what works best for them. So it's like you're pretty much just like stuck. You just better hope that you don't wreck the car.
Just be smart, honestly, which is easier said than done, because in the heat of the moment you feel like you have a window that closes up real quick. But I just don't like that there's no practice for these duels, and so that's why I'm going back and forth on Daly and Pastrana if the 80 car doesn't show up. But I think if Yeley shows up, it's a guaranteed they go home, and then it's just down between Pastrana and Daly. But if Yeley doesn't show, then I'm feeling pretty confident that it's going to be Daly and Pastrana, assuming we have a clean duel races.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I guess that's pretty much it for now. Wait. Who do you? Okay, hold on. We're gonna do some cheeky little picks here because it's the Sunday before. We have nothing to look at, which I think is the fun way to do this. Who do you think is gonna win the 500? Who do you think? Just based on nothing but gut feelings.
I say Zane Smith.
Chance to take home the trophy. You think Zane Smith's going to win the Daytona 500?
I think so. He was good.
Open car?
Not Zane Smith. Sorry. Justin Haley. Sorry.
Oh, Justin Haley. Okay, those are two very different names. All right. Yeah. So you think Haley's going to take home the? Why do you think that?
Well, he was good last year in the fall. Or not the fall. The July race. And he's always been a good restrictor plate driver too. So I mean, I feel like he has a good shot to win the 500. And then not only that, he has that pole at the Clash too, which kind of builds off that momentum for him. I know he didn't have a really great Clash, but I mean, I think he has a good shot to win the 500. He's won at Daytona before. I mean, regardless if it was a rain-shortened race, he's always up front. He's always hanging up there. He showed a lot of competitiveness last year for the restrictor plate races, so I think he has a good shot to win the 500.
Okay. I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney. I think this year Ryan Blaney's going to get it done. I was debating on picking Kyle Busch just because I think a happy Kyle Busch is a very dangerous Kyle Busch. However, the only thing stopping me from picking Kyle Busch is that he is driving a Chevy. And with the rounded noses, Chevy has had a very unfortunate history of just turning each other around while trying to help because of the rounded noses.
Well, they changed it this year now.
Did they?
Yeah, they made adjustments to the nose.
Ooh, I missed that.
Yeah, the noses are, I think they're a little bit shaped differently.
That'll give him a chance. But I'm still going to stick with Ryan Blaney. And here's why I'm picking Ryan Blaney. Is just watch the finishes of the last handful Daytona 500s and guess who's always in like second or third. It's
Blaney.
That bright yellow Menards Ryan Blaney. He's always
my
there.
second pick is Bubba Wallace though, because he's up there too.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that was my second pick too. Was Wallace, and for the same reasons as Blaney. Whereas he's been up there so many years and he hasn't been able to seal the deal. I think Ryan Blaney's tired of finishing second and third. I think Ryan Blaney, this is the year where he's fine. Because we've also seen Ford in general, just because of the way their noses are built on the Mustangs, they're excellent pushers. Like, they're really good at pushing each other around without turning each other around. And just Penske in general has been pretty good at these plate tracks. They've always been there at the finish when they're not wrecking each other. And so I think Ryan Blaney gets it done, and if Ryan Blaney doesn't get it done, I'm on the same boat as you, where I think Bubba's a good second option. Like, he's become an incredible plate racer over the last couple of years, and if he's not, and usually when he's not finishing in the top 5, it's because he's gotten crashed. Like, he's either wrecked or finished in the top 5, and so I think either Blaney or Bubba gets the win next Sunday.
I think Bubba has a good shot, but Justin Haley, he's kind of shown himself to be, very competitive. And then I feel like the Chevys have a really good chance, especially at the speed weeks for qualifying, because they're always like the fastest ones. If you look at like the previous years, like Hendrick Motorsports has always been up there. So I think with Kyle Busch being a Chevy this year, I think he has a good shot to not only put it on the pole, but I think he has a good shot to win the 500 too. But I still feel like Haley will be my number one choice.
Yeah, I see. The only problem I'm having with Chevy though is that they are really good in single qualifying. Like you said, they always qualify up front, but they seem to have all kinds of problems during the race because it doesn't feel like they want to organize as much as they should.
Yeah.
And I think that's how they throw away a lot of these races. Because when you look at the end of these races, it's always Fords and Toyotas up front. Like, I haven't seen a ton of Chevys up in the mix in the recent years. I think that comes down to they need to get better at their cooperation, because Fords always like to work together and the Toyotas are always like they're the ride or dies. And so like at the end of these races, it's always Ford and Toyota, just because Chevy I don't know what they're doing. It's either they can't push because of the old noses, or they just don't cooperate enough where they can be up there at the front at the end. And so that's the reason I'm thinking Blaney or Bubba. I don't think a Chevy wins it, honestly. And if it's not Blaney or Bubba, I think a Ford or a Toyota wins it. I just honestly don't think a Chevy's going to win it. And so, yeah, make sure to tune in next Sunday to see how correct or incorrect we are.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm correct, but we'll see. I have a feeling I'm going to be way off.
Well, that's why we make these way too early predictions. That's the fun in it.
Yeah.
There's something humbling about making a pick and then watching them finish last.
Like, wow, that was not correct.
Yeah, and there's also something real exciting about making a pick and then watching them pull it off.
Yeah.
I wish I was old enough to gamble the year that I picked Ryan Blaney to win Talladega and he won it. Or the year I picked Hamlin to win the 500 and he won it. This was before DVR existed. I was also not old enough to gamble, because I think I was like 18 or 19 at the time, but there was a year I picked Denny Hamlin to win 2 500s and he won them both, and then I picked Ryan Blaney to win Talladega the year that he won it. Now I was like, damn, if only I was old enough to gamble.
Right.
And now that I'm old enough to gamble, I haven't picked a winner to save my life. Well, now that we've done our picks, any closing thoughts you want to end up on Daytona?
No, I think that's it. I'm kind of excited for the season to finally start up again. But it should be an exciting race. I mean, I feel like last year's was pretty eventful, so hopefully we get the same thing this year.
All right. Well, I guess with that, if there's not a ton of closing thoughts, if you've made it this far into the podcast, thank you for tuning in. Let us know what you think. What are your picks to win Daytona? What were your thoughts on the LA Clash? And also make sure to hit us up on our social medias. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter, both at underscore, nope, not underscore, both at Donahue_Vargas. There it is. It'll be up on the screen. I'm saying it wrong, but don't listen to me. Look at the screen. Both on Twitter and Instagram at Donahue_Vargas. We'll be watching that race live. Hopefully you are too. So let us know how it goes for you guys, and we'll see you guys after Daytona for our Daytona recap and our Auto Club preview.
Sweet. See ya.